So the question before us is, should every Christian be actively sharing his or her faith? And by that I mean, should each person be taking opportunities to tell other people about Jesus Christ and about what it means to turn from your sin and turn to faith in him for forgiveness from those sins? And there's no place in Scripture that says to do that in exactly those terms, but I do think there is another way that we can look at it. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 23 through the end of the chapter, going into chapter 11, verse 1, the issue that Paul is dealing with is kind of a strange one for us. So it's the issue of meat sacrificed to idols. Are Christians allowed to eat meat that have been sacrificed in a pagan ceremony to a pagan idol in a pagan temple by a pagan priest? And that meat is then sold to the public in a marketplace, and then, or if it is on the menu of someone whose house you're invited over for dinner. So is a Christian allowed to eat that meat that had been sacrificed to idols? And Paul's argument here is that, on the one hand, yes, you have the freedom to eat the meat, but on the other hand, loving someone else may mean not eating that meat. So if it would hurt the faith of someone else, then you should not eat that meat. Your love for the other person is more important than what you have the freedom to do. And this is how he ends his point. Starting in verse 31, he says, "So whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do all to the glory of God. Give no offense to Jews or to Greeks or to the church of God, just as I try to please everyone in everything I do, not seeking my own advantage, but that of many, that they may be saved." So that's Paul's operating principle, is to live for the advantage not of himself, but for others, and not just in a generally neighborly way, but in particular so that they may be saved. And then he says, "Be imitators of me as I am of Christ." So in other words, Jesus Christ lived this way. He lived for the advantage of others so that they may be saved, which means that he died for them. And Paul is imitating Jesus, and he tells the Corinthians to imitate Paul. It's interesting, though, think about who exactly Paul is talking to. Sometimes we think that this kind of way of living is just for the really strong Christians or just for the really mature Christians, and everyone else that we should kind of get to that point of maturity first, and then we can live that way. But we should understand who the Corinthians were. In this letter, we learn that these people have deep problems with cliques and factions. This person follows this person, follows that person. There are these really messy sexual scandals that are being openly tolerated and celebrated in the church. You have Christians suing other Christians in the church, or suing them in secular court. You have the Lord's Supper is a sham where the rich people are bringing all the food and the wine, they're getting drunk, and the poor people are watching them have this party and not eating or drinking. So if Holy Trinity has its problems, which we do, we don't have the problems that Corinth does, thank the Lord. But if Paul can tell those people with those problems to live not for their own advantage, but for the advantage of others, so they may be saved, well, I think that means that's the same goes for us, that no matter who we are, we should be imitating Paul as he imitates Christ. So yes, we should be living for the advantage of others, that they may be saved. I think this includes the words we say. It includes telling people about Jesus. It's not just that, but it includes that. And the reason we do that at the end of the day is not because that's just what Christians do, but it's what Christ did for us. Christ lived for our advantage so that we may be saved. So then we can go forward joyfully living for the advantage of others that they may be saved.